Live from Houston, Texas. Welcome everyone to today's episode of What Makes You Tick. Look, I'm really excited that you're here for number 35. But as always, before we dive in, just a quick housekeeping note and any experience for everyone on how we make you tick. Today's guest is a definition of positive mindset with impact. So I want you to listen and connect with this lady. But first, as always, this is an interactive live session. You're encouraged to participate in any questions that you can. To send a question, just drop it in the chat. It'll bring key insights into the conversation. We'll use LinkedIn's DM and the comment section for events posting and any behind the scenes coordination you may need. I always say that, and I don't know if I can help you, but I'm going to help you anyway. Yeah. We already had one so maybe I can. Yeah. Look, if you get disconnected, just simply rejoin. LinkedIn will do this from time to time. We know that many of your listeners are commuting or you're working. So however you can, even quiet listeners or listeners that may listen to this on a delay, you're important to our community. Thanks again for being here. Now let's get started. My guest today brings energy, science, and strategy together in a way that shifts the room and results. She is the kind of leader who proves that positivity isn't fluff. It's a performance advantage. Known for her authentic humor, authenticity, and unmistakable presence, she helps leaders reframe presence into possibilities and a competitive edge. A proven entrepreneur and operator, she scaled Accel Lifestyles into a multi-million-dollar company in just 12 months from a $10,000 liftoff Houston win. With a chemistry background, now we're talking my language because we're talking a little biology or a little science here. She spent years in the lab inventing Prima antibacterial odor-resistant fabric and a global textile and distributed over a global textile industry, earning features in Forbes and NASDAQ. As a CSO of New Wave Offshore Energy, she built high-impact global teams in complex, high-stakes environments. We're diving into how science-backed positivity drives resilience, sharpens decision-making, and fuels performance without sacrificing any results. This is one conversation that will energize how you lead. So it's important that you join us in welcoming Megan Eddings to What Makes You Tick. Megan, it's awesome that you're here. Give people some insight into what makes Megan tick.
Wow, I didn't know you were going to ask me that question. I mean, after that intro, what makes me tick, personally or professionally? Because I don't know if I can say all that on LinkedIn.
It goes side by side.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you for everyone who's clicking the link and maybe who clicks the link later and take a look at it. Anyone who looks, we just hope that even if you learn one thing that speaks to you today, then it'll be a success. And so thank you, Bryan, for having me on.
Pleasure.
Yeah, boy. I mean, truth, clarity, traction. Truth is a big one. And it's actually interesting that we're even having this podcast right now, this interview. You and I spoke a few weeks ago when I was driving to the airport to pick up my mother-in-law to go on a Disney cruise with her. And it was our first time chatting. And I thought your podcast was like super fascinating and just truth and, traction and clarity. Mm-hmm. And then I've actually had to put those to work quite a bit the past week with work and just kind of focusing on always being truthful, always being level-headed, focusing on, just being clear with not only my mindset, but also what I'm trying to achieve and how I'm going to get there.
Yeah. Okay. So those are huge. And that's what I do on a daily basis with kids, within a business. It doesn't matter. It's important just to be truthful, because if you want to build trust, you have to have that. But okay, so tell the people, how did you get to, you've done all these fascinating things. What's your path? What's your story?
Man, I'll tell you, I just enjoy the journey. I mean, I was not always like that though. Growing up, you're going to hear an accent, Rhode Island, no one ever says Mississippi. So growing up in Rhode Island, I was extremely straight A's, had to be the president and captain of everything. Everything had to be just perfect, for lack of better words. And even though I focused on achieving, and I loved my childhood growing up, it was great. I knew I wanted to go to college outside of the Northeast just for new experiences. But now I'm more focused on the journey for two reasons. Number one, experiences, just experience. Like I'm 44 years old and 45 next month, which is crazy. We're in February.
Wow.
Oops. And what I've realized is it's so important to set goals. And so I always set goals, but I have found just from experience that the beauty and the people you meet along the way and the lessons learned, not only about business, but about yourself, actually come on the journey to achieve that goal. That goal might never get achieved, but on that journey, something's going to get achieved. And so people say like, oh my gosh, you've done so many various things in your, short, time. And I don't really look at it like that. I just, we all change as people. Interests change, opportunity change, and you got to go where the wind takes you and just what gets you excited. And what gets you excited today may not get you excited tomorrow. And what gets you excited, today, yesterday you thought was great, and today you're like, I'm going to try something different.
Yeah. Okay. But did you think that you'd be doing back then when you're looking at it? Did you think you would have any inkling of doing what you're doing? So how did you get here?
No, so 100%. I majored in chemistry. I love science. 10th grade English teacher. That was it. Like I had my teacher in 10th grade, and I'm like, I'm great at this thing called chemistry. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I like makeup. So I even thought in college, like maybe I'll, work for Revlon developing lipsticks. I love teeth. I thought I'd be an orthodontist, but then I realized you have to go to school for 105 years. And could I see myself working in someone's mouth? Probably not. Right. And so I actually worked in a lab at Brown University in a biochem lab, studying protein cells or protein and how they affect cancer cells. My roommate in college actually was diagnosed with cancer and passed away pretty soon after we graduated. And so she also had a biochem major. We were basically sisters. We did everything together except date the same guy. So I thought, I never knew what I was going to do with my chemistry degree, but I'm going to find a cure for cancer. Yeah. So I'm working at Brown, and I realized just like this aha moment one day, I am way too outgoing to be in a lab. Just like I love fashion. I love people. I mean, the science behind human interaction, the joke I say. And I'm like, I was talking to the Petri dishes and they weren't talking back. So I'm like, now what? So I just happened to meet, I don't believe anything's by accident. I just happened to meet this guy. He was super old at the time. He was like 41. And he said, you'd be great in this thing called medical equipment sales. I'm like, what's that? He's like, they give you a phone, they give you a car, they give you a computer. The more you sell, the more money you make, and you get to dress cute. He probably didn't say dress cute, but he knew I liked fashion.
Correct.
So I moved to Houston 21 years ago to work for Siemens Medical, which is now Siemens Healthineers, selling X-ray, MRIs, and all that. And I moved here. It was between here and Indianapolis. I got offers in both areas, but there were just way more hospitals being built here. And so I did that. Did not know one person in Texas, but my team was awesome. Everybody was super welcoming. Texas, they were just super, super welcoming. You think my accent's bad now? 21 years ago, they were like, I don't know. I probably even had darker hair. it was, I came in hot. Right. And did medical sales for 14 years. Wow. And my managers at the time, and they were great. They kept saying, Meg, we'd like you to join the managerial program and, become a manager. And I told every one of them, absolutely not, because I'd probably fire everybody. No offense.
Right. But, if you're not, been there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, nope, I love sales. I love mentoring people. And then in 2012, which seems like a while ago, but I just thought about it yesterday. It was 14 years ago, which is crazy. My dad suddenly passed away. He was 58. I was 31. And he was like my best friend. I was single here for 9 years. He had just retired a couple of years prior. And we talked every day, he knew every one of my medical sales deals, every step. I would get to the next step. I'd call him. We chatted all the time. I chatted with him more than anybody in my life. Wow. And I was at a meeting one day, for those on the call from Houston, we were, Houston's on Kirby. I think it's called, I don't know what it's called now. Maybe Houston's. I forget what it's called now. Anywho, I was there for a meeting on a Tuesday talking about MRI machines, and my mom and my brother called back to back and said that dad had just died. He was raking leaves with my older brother and just asked my brother to go inside to get water. He obviously felt some kind of way. And when Dave came out, that was it. He was dead. Wow. And so that changed me. My roommate from college passing away, absolutely. I had a really tough time. That's like an understatement. But when my dad passed away, that was something that I've always been a positive person, but that I did hit a really big low. but I threw it up to God. And I just said, about 2 weeks later, I said, man, I just gave Dad's eulogy. My dad was super funny. And I never once brought up his job. And he worked for the same company, sandblasting submarines, for 33 years.
Wow.
And I never once brought it up. All I brought up was how he made people feel, what he did for people, humor, his love for food. And I kind of had this aha moment. I'm like, man, I love medical sales. I love it. But there's got to be more. So I go on a blind date 6 weeks later here in Houston. And he's my now husband. We're going to be married 11 years this year. And he was the catalyst for me becoming an entrepreneur. It's back when CrossFit was super hot. Everybody was doing it. And his workout clothes smelled like, you know what? You're an athlete. I was an athlete. We know that smell, and that polyester material holds on to that stank.
Oh my gosh.
And you can't get it out, you know, and you wash it, and then you put on a fresh shirt. And then the moment you start sweating, you're like, I swear I put deodorant on. And I remember I had this aha moment that I'm selling like MRI machines, like for $2 million a pop. Yeah. And we don't have workout clothes that don't stink. And so I left medical sales in 2016. It took me about 3 years to invent the fabric till it was ready to file for the patent. And started Accel Lifestyle, which was apparel made from my anti-stink Prima fabric. And then COVID hit. And that was fascinating because I put all my savings into the company. I mean, all. And I always saved a lot of money. It's just how I was raised. It all went into the company. And it was August 2019. I launched the company. Everything's 100% sourced and made here in the States. It was really important to me. I'm super pro-military, super pro-USA.
Love it.
And there were going to be no sweatshops used at all. And so that was a feat in itself. And so our t-shirts were $72 because I had science in it, patent pending, and everything's made in the United States. So I remember March 2020 happens, and I can tell you where I was driving on West Gray. It's the week that the city shut down, also known as the week the world ran out of toilet paper.
Yes.
I'm driving down the road. I remember thinking to myself, I'm not going to say a cuss word, but I'm like, oh, bleep. Who's going to buy a $72 t-shirt? Why didn't I invent some kind of toilet paper? Which, of course, we wouldn't want to do reuse of toilet paper, but whatever. Well, who would have ever guessed a few days later, my fashion consultant in Jersey, whom I've never met in real life to the day, called me and said, Meg, my sister's a nurse in New York City, and the CDC just came out last night and said healthcare heroes are running out of face masks. She's like, all your fabric is made in the States. You worked in hospitals for 14 years. You know how to make a pattern from just designing t-shirts. Why don't you take your fabric and just throw it into a face mask? Fast forward, we ended up selling about 800,000 face masks, donated hundreds of thousands, got on contract with the Navy SEALs, the Marines, which was really, really special to me, hospitals, just orphanages, schools. And just because, you know, it's fascinating that Made in USA was super, super important to me, just no sweatshops. Who would have ever thought that doing the right thing, in my mind, would have made it the easy transition during COVID to immediately start making face masks because all the fabric was already here in the States.
Yeah. No. Okay. So if I'm a business person and I want to start, what do I do? Like that's like, how do you, because I love the change piece in there. That's one of the things that's huge. And people, we talked before, and I had my guest last week, we had the same thing. People don't like to change. And it's a very challenging piece. By the way, I love the fact I'm the same way. The journey, I miss being around people. I love these conversations because it's very engaging. But as far as if you were going to tell somebody, how do you take that path? What would you tell them?
I ran an event this past Friday, and it was all about 2026 goals. And somebody actually raised their hand before we even started, said, where do we start? I said I said, the hardest step is the first step, which everybody says that. Okay, great. But what's the freaking first step?
Correct.
That's right. I say, if you're trying anything you're trying to do, start a new company, get a new job, anything in the leadership world, get a new role in your company, research it to see if it's something you're going to like. Talk to people that already do it now and because, you know, you think you might like something, but talk to people that are actually doing it now and have them give you the real truth.
Yes.
Let's pretend you do all that. And then you're like, all right, I really want to go for this new job. Don't overanalyze it. That's like the fear will make people literally freeze for a month or years and just take the action. And a friend of mine actually is massively changing careers. She's going to be a pharmaceutical sales rep, and she was not doing anything like that before. Yeah. So I said, girlfriend, I said, send me your resume. She sent me a resume, copy, pasted, dropped that thing in Chat GPT. And I said, I have a friend who's applying for a pharmaceutical sales job. Take her resume, that was great, and put it into words that actually the hiring manager for the pharma company would want to hire, And I just helped, but she got the job. And so make sure, if I say, do something every day. So take a big step, talk to someone first, and then apply for the job. Reach out to somebody and ask for help. That's another one. Ask people for help to look at the resume or what's their opinion. Because everyone experiences change and wants to make a change at least once in their life.
No, look, I love that. It's one of those things. So everybody I talk to, one of the things I want to do is I want to get into my next career, possibly my last career. Right now, I'm education and I love it. But it's so funny to hear you say that, because exactly what you just said is my thought yesterday when I'm thinking, okay, I'm at that point now because I'm a softball coach right now. So I'm in my season. I do not want to do anything to let my girls go. But my mind wants to take me to, well, wait till the perfect time. There is no perfect time.
Boom.
There's no perfect time. You got to do it now, and you got to go, and whatever life brings you, you got to take it, or you got to let it go by. And it's a choice. And I love what you just said. And I'm sitting here, and I don't know if you saw me smirk, but I had to, because it was exactly the thought that I had yesterday.
And they don't have to be massive steps. Like when you think about, oh man, a new job, a new career, a new title, they don't have to be massive. Even small steps are the great steps. I mean, no one built, they always say, like, successful companies took 7 to 10 years to build. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is true. No such thing as an overnight success. All these people we're following on social media, and you're like, oh man, they have it so together. They have millions of followers, millions of dollars. Some people do share the truth, but literally there's a lot of like tears, blood, sweat. I mean, hopefully not a lot of blood, but there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that they just keep doing little things every day.
And not to mention the ones that did not make it. Like, we never see the ones that did not make it. And I'm seeing all these kids and even adults that are doing TikTok videos and all this to hopefully make it. I'm like, do you understand how small that is? You have to be committed, and you have to be able to do what you're going to do and be committed to it. And you have to trust the process, and you have to be very clear in what you're going to do. You said something earlier, and I want to go back to it. You like in COVID, it was a time where it's changed everything to where we're a lot remote. And I've met some people who now, like, you work from home, and I feel it. You can feel the disconnect from people. But as far as trust and clarity, because this show is based a lot on trust and clarity, how difficult is it to build trust and clarity within this remote setting? How did your story find out? And what is your experience, both personal and business?
Sure. So now that COVID is, I'll give you twofold. Now that COVID is like a thing of the past, I firmly believe in in-person meetings as much as possible.
Yes.
I mean, almost to like, I will, if someone can't meet in person for a month, I will wait that month until, instead of having like an email or even a Zoom call, because the things you find out in person, and not just that, a lot of communication, as we all know, are not the words coming out of your mouth. It's your body language. And if I'm only seeing you from the chest up or the shoulders up or whatever that part of the body is, I mean, you're not seeing the whole expressive tone. And then we as humans, scientifically, this, we're going to share more when there's not a computer screen, something digital in front of us. So now I just totally try to go in person. And that even means like flying across the pond, like going to London with I'm the chief strategy officer for an oil and gas consulting company. And I'm always saying, like, let's get on that plane. I mean, we're flying to Brazil in March. But as far as during COVID, or not even really during COVID, people that work remotely now, you've got to get out from behind that computer. But if you can't, then I was telling the pharmaceutical sales rep friend, it's funny that I'm bringing it up again. The first 6 months, she's very outgoing, but the first 6 months of her job is remote. And she's worried because she's so outgoing. How are they going to understand my personality? How am I going to sell through a computer? I'm like, girlfriend, let me tell you, during COVID, all I did were Zoom calls. People got my personality. Like, everyone here can understand my personality from this little square. So use what you got. Always try to go for in-person first. And then even though you're on a video, try to show your real self. Like just be who you are. Like, there's no, I mean, be respectful and, dress up. Like, don't show up in what now? I was going to say, don't wear your pajamas. That is a lie. If you want to wear them from the waist down. every single day. But it's just about showing up if you're going to build trust when you're authentically yourself. And if you have a question, you ask for help, and just be a genuinely kind person who's fair and honest.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because I'm big on trust. And I went into last weekend, Saturday night, when we had all the freeze here. Right down the road is one of my former clients when I worked at Gordon Foods, Eden Table, and Ulysses has been a guest on this. Fantastic people, some of my favorite people I've met. And I went in and it was slow. And so he was there. So I sat at the bar, had my dinner, had a couple of drinks, and he would come by and he and I would sit there and talk. Right. And he made me rethink, because the biggest advantage, he said, I asked him about his current rep, and he said positive things. And then later on, he said, look, the reason I bought from you is because of the relationship that you have. You're good at being able to build a relationship. That has to do with trust. You have to be able to trust, and you have to be very authentic, or you can't do that. And it's crazy. Look, we need to reset, but before we reset, I always end the first segment with a book. You go first.
There are actually, and honestly, so I always say I don't really read a lot. That's ridiculous. I read all the time, but I don't actually read a lot of books. But there are 2 books. One of them I'm reading now, and I've been reading it for probably 4 months. I read about 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 5 days a week. The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama, old school, came out a while ago. And that to me has been transformative for my mindset. Transformative. I mean, I grew up Catholic. I do believe in God, but I also believe in the teachings of Buddhism, as far as just love and accept. A big thing I'm reading right now is about accepting challenges. And if you internally accept that challenges and hurt and grief and pain are just a part of life, and we all go through it, there's almost beauty in that commonality. So when it actually does happen, it's not as full of despair as it could be if you feel like you're the only one alone in it. So that one I read, that starts my morning great.
What's the name of it again?
The Art of Happiness.
Okay.
Dalai Lama. Yep. It's easy read. I read it on Kindle. I used to go to my phone. Like mouth guards still in, eye mask still up here, and just grab it and go right to work emails. But I realized a few years ago, man, not a good way to start my day, because then I'm just ridden with stress and my mind's in this like stress, cyclone. So I'd say The Art of Happiness. I could go on and on for another one, but that's like the big one.
No, I love that. I've heard that. I actually wrote it down last week. The guy that, and I'll recap this one at a later date. My guest I had on Bowley, he gave me Who Moved My Cheese. I started listening to it this week. Amazing. I'll write them down, and then because I'll go for my run. I'll go for when I'm done here, I'll go for a run. I put my book in. I take notes. Yeah. One of the books that I did was a while back. It was called "What Got You Here Won't Get You There" by Marshall Goldsmith, and it reveals the interpersonal habits and often invisible to our person to help exhibit. It can limit our growth. It can, it influences our trust. It influences a lot of different things. And true leaders progress. Our progress comes from self-awareness, and how important self-awareness and feedback is, and the willingness to change. There's that word. There's that phrase again. And what a couple of takeaways I got from it was that that success can create blind spots. In other words, we can't see what's coming. Two, that feedback, and this is something when I read this, I went, oh my gosh, for being an athlete, like feedback is fuel. It's not a failure. And understanding that the feedback that you get in the moment or what somebody gives you, take it as you will. It might not mean anything to you. Maybe a month now or a year later, it might make something, but it's more or less what it can give you, not what it's taking away. And that behavior, the third one would be behavior change beats intention. In other words, be intentional about what you're changing and make those changes. It was like we were talking earlier, do it now and see what happens. It doesn't mean, going back to number 2, it doesn't mean that if you change and it doesn't work, that you failed. It simply means that it was a lesson that you needed to learn that's going to take you to the next step of life.
Yeah. And actually two words you said that were just struck me. Number one was awareness.
Yes.
If you're not aware of areas for improvement or areas for growth or areas for change, then you have to be aware with what you're doing great and what you could, work on. And I got a therapist about 3 years ago, and she's helped me tremendously see my blind spots, like tremendously. And not only has my external leadership and results, oriented life gotten easier, I've just been more relaxed doing it because I'm aware of certain areas that I need assistance with and, growth. And the second thing about change, internal change, your brain, you have to be consistent. I tell everybody, I'm like, just like going to the gym. You pump those bicep curls, you get bigger biceps. Your brain is the same way, like neuroplasticity. Your brain actually changes the more positive thoughts you consistently put in it. So that's why I literally start every morning with basically positive reading to get my brain right. Not only so I feel good in the morning and I get out of my own head, but I'm actually changing, the structure of my brain in the process.
Yeah. And it's important that you recognize when that negativity sets in and you change it immediately. A lot of people, I'm driving home today and I literally started to go, what the, oh, you know what? No, it's not worth my energy. But look, today is my 35th podcast. What Makes You Tick? It's an authentic, relaxed, purposeful conversation on trust, clarity, and traction. Why do we do this? To help incorporate your purpose into what you do and make an impact in your life and others' lives. We're doing this by sharing business and personal stories on building culture of trust, creating a clear, impactful message as a leader with insights on how you can build traction within your life. My guest today is the amazing and positive Megan Eddings. Look, okay, so I want to go and I want to parlay that in, and I'll come back to something you said earlier. As far as AI, now you're seeing a lot of things of AI, and I always ask my guests, and it's become a big hot topic. As far as business, how important is it in building trust in your business? And how can it help you build that trust or how can it be an added value for building that trust within a business? I think we had some technical difficulty. Megan, are you still there? I think we've gotten locked up. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. This is the first, and it was such an engaging conversation. I'll wait for Megan to catch back on. Megan, hopefully you can hear me, and she will log off and we'll get her back on. Look, we're going to dive into, I encourage you to stick around because we had a pre-conversation about AI, and to be able to talk about what we're going to do is hugely impactful. So stick around. And Megan, are you there? I can see part of her. There you are.
I don't know what's happening. You said AI and my computer's like, AI, she doesn't know crap about AI. You shut her off. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Yeah, I don't know what. So my apologies. I don't know what happened.
You talk about change. We just had change and we just had feedback. Let's go.
You got to roll with it. You got to stay cool, calm, and collected. But AI, as far as trust, so I use AI. So I'm a chief strategy. I have two jobs. I'm a chief strategy officer, and the input into ChatGPT, I use it, is extremely important. And then the most important thing is whatever you get back, don't take that as fact. Correct. Don't take that as everything. You got to do the research yourself. And then you got to obviously put it in your own voice. This is my opinion. So use it. It's quick. I think AI is fascinating. AI, people are saying it's fantastic and it helps their day job. Even like in healthcare, I was in hospital for 14 years and they use a lot of AI for healthcare, but there's always going to have to be a doctor. You're going to need a human being that has thought involved to analyze outputs. And so it's kind of like probably when the cell phone came out or the computer came out, people are freaking out, thinking their entire life's going to be just, dismantled and whatever. AI is here to stay. It's only going to get more wild and more incredible, and it's not going anywhere. So either get on the bandwagon or sit in the corner and cry. But I would, there's so much benefit to AI for your personal life and your business life, and it just makes things more efficient.
No, and I always tell a story about my son, and he like your dad, he and I talk constantly.
Yeah.
He started a business. I started a business that failed. I've been through a lot of sales. I've done different things. And because of my failures, I've actually used that to help him build, but he used AI to build his business. And the biggest thing that I see with AI, and here's a big advantage for a business or on a personal side. One, it can do things that you can't. And if you allow it to do that, then two, it can teach you things that you won't normally learn. But if you just copy and paste it, all you're doing is creating something that's not truthful. It's not you. I love the fact that you brought up, I got to read it because it's got to be my voice. They're going to give me the words, but I still have to make it my voice, and I still have to put it in my words. You might change 2, you might change 100, but still, it gives you that voice that maybe you didn't have, and it gives you that knowledge. I've been digging in and doing some of the stuff for the show, some other things, and the stuff that I've learned has been amazing. I'm going, I never thought of writing it that way. Oh, I didn't know that. And it's really, and you said it earlier, the prompt, whether you're a business owner or not, or whether you're a personal, the prompt that you put in there is important. Now, I do want to go back because it's funny that you said you helped a lady, your friend, you helped her get a job in pharmaceutical sales. It's one of those things that is on my list to do that I thought about this weekend is exactly what you just said. So if I'm looking to get a new job, what would you tell me to do?
100% reach out to people in your network. 100%. Like if people are on right now, they have LinkedIn. And if you're interested in a certain job, see who you know who's in that job, or just see who you know who's a nice person. Because it's always a friend of a friend or a friend. And I had coffee with someone last week. I have not seen her in real life. I mean, shoot, her kid's 10, I don't know, 11 years. And she reached out for I lived here for 21 years and we had coffee. And so she mentioned a company that she's applying for. I'm like, I said, I actually know somebody that works there. And so reach out to your network. And I will say, when I say reach out to your network, I'm also going to say, I know that can feel challenging to do.
Oh my gosh.
Presenting in front of your peers and people you know, and reaching out to your network with fear of rejection are two real feelings. But get over it because of the 5 people you reach out to, even if one responds back for a 10, 15-minute phone call, that could be the phone call that changes your trajectory.
So as far as if I'm looking at, like me, I'm looking at doing different things, and I want to be able to put my resume into AI and ask it what, because I don't like, what do I do? If I'm looking for a new career, or because I don't want to do the same thing, but I don't mind doing the same thing. But how would I ask it to, or in your opinion, how would I ask it, what am I good for? What is out there?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's 2 different things. So I would first my inner team knows that I said, I was talking to my dear friend, ChatGPT today, like my best friend, my baddie, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I would talk to ChatGPT. Here's my history. Here's what I love to do. Here's what I'm great at. Here's what I don't like to do. What are some fields? Let's say salary is important to you. What are some fields that I can make X amount of money with health benefits? I can work hybrid, like literally put in every detail. Don't even say what you want the job to be. And it will kick out in probably 0.3 seconds.
Yes.
And say, I want 20 different options. Like be super specific.
And
then go through those 20 options and don't immediately say no. I actually did that a few weeks ago. Something popped up about my keynote speaking. I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then there were 10 things that popped up and there's one I said, nope, not doing it. And my husband's like, well, Meg, ask it some more questions. And at the end of it, I realized that one thing I said no to is the one thing I should be doing. And so talk to it like a friend and give it all the details. Actually, talk to it like your smartest friend you ever met in your entire life.
Correct.
Who may know you better than you know yourself.
Yeah. And the more data you give it, the better it is.
That's right. And then once you narrow it down to what field you may want, then just take your resume and drop it in and say, hey, I want to be a chief strategy officer of an oil and gas company. Rewrite this resume to make me look attractive.
Yeah. And it's great to be able to do the resume too, or part of the resume, correct me if I'm wrong, but as you're asking that question, like, here's what I've done, where do I want to go? Because I'm interested in this and this, and put in your parameters for sure.
That's right.
Now, and the other thing, it can help create a lot of clarity within what you're doing in a business. So what have you seen as far as AI that you've been working with, or in your experience, that can help to create the clarity piece of it?
Yep. So clarity, it was 100% clear. I'll give you the exact example, but a little more detail. So I love public speaking on positivity. I just love it. I get up there, I black out on stage. I don't know what I say. People are laughing and crying, and then the check clears. So I was like, how can I do this more? So I literally typed in 10, I asked some questions, and it was podcasts. How can I have a bigger impact on people more than just keynote? Because keynote talks are very, very, very competitive, as everything in this world is. I'm like, what else can I do? And one of the things on there was workshops. Like, I don't want to do a workshop. First thing I'm like yelling at ChatGPT, like in my mind, I don't want to do a workshop. That's ridiculous, is what I'm thinking. And then I thought, okay, Meg, what are the things I like to do? I love my time. I've owned a business before that is 24 hours a day. I'm not the CEO right now. So I have the luxury of creating my own life for the time that I want to give. And I realized that I don't want to be consistent, like for a podcast or write a book or whatever. And so in researching it and saying what I wanted to make, saying who my ideal client is, I always put money in there, because know your worth and put in that dollar bill. Well, more than dollar bill. And of all 10 things, I typed in, should I have a radio show? Should I do a TV commercial? I typed in everything. Workshop was the number one thing that fit all my parameters. And I'm telling you, when it popped up, I was like, hell no. But then so I'm doing my first workshop actually this month. I know. February 26th. Yeah.
So the preparation for it, how's that going?
ChatGPT. I haven't even ChatGPT. I haven't even honestly, all preparation for me for public speaking is just mentally, just sitting on it while driving, showering, going to sleep. But I will talk to ChatGPT about taking my skills and what I want to accomplish in the workshop. But step one, talk to the customer. What do they want me to accomplish? And then put in ChatGPT, tell them I have 90 minutes. What should my format be? And then I go in and tweak it to make it more definitely of my voice and what I want to accomplish. Okay.
So let's go here. You're going to a workshop, and you have to communicate something that you're an expert on to a group that is not. Let's say they're not even close, but they're interested. How would you do that? And then part two is, how would you instruct AI to help you?
Sure. So I believe in storytelling. I even all my keynotes, if I'm talking to doctors, if I'm talking to high school students, if I'm talking to healthcare leaders, I always start with storytelling. And because if I'm up there talking about positivity and your mindset and how important it is to be in a positive mindset to make forward change in your life, I don't just get up there and say like, oh, my life is so perfect, everything's great. So I always start with storytelling. If it's healthcare, I'll tell some stories in healthcare. I usually bring up my dad passing away, and that was not easy in the beginning to do. And I usually shed a tear when I'm up there doing it. Just happens. But what I find is, if I share the authentic Megan, nothing to do with the topic at hand in the beginning, all of a sudden we all have an emotional connection.
Correct.
And the number one thing to get buy-in, trust, clarity, traction is have an emotional connection with your audience, whether it's one person or a room of 500 people or a room of 25 people who don't feel like being there. The lunch is cold and the lights are dim. But if I share an emotional story that I know every single person can relate to, they may not relate to their dad passing away young, but everyone has experienced pain. So all of a sudden, doesn't matter what we look like, what our background is, what our religious belief, doesn't matter anything. We now have a commonality right off the gate. And so that's how I gain trust immediately. And then as far as ChatGPT, this one that I'm giving this workshop I'm giving, this company has had a lot of turnover, new leadership, people are being shifted around. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of change, change comes fear. And so the new manager said, hey, we need your help to come in and just get our team back on just think positively. Because right now they're all spiraling in a state of, anxiety. So he and I are going to have a call this week. Actually, that's a lie. We're meeting in person.
So there you go. Yeah.
We're meeting in person because I'll find out the real skinny, and I'll tailor the whole thing around exactly what he wants me to accomplish. So I'm going to ask for exact challenges they've experienced, and then ChatGPT will help me make sure I address those challenges without calling out any names.
No, I love that. And the use of AI can help you, in my experience, can help you to build what you need to. It's up to you to deliver the authenticity that develops the trust and the clarity within there. Now, how do you react? Now, this is coming from a teacher who teaches with kids, and they look at you say something that's very simple, and you think it's up here. Coaches too, and they look at you like, how do you, like, you know what I'm talking about, because you'll look into your audience and you're very clear in what you're saying. How do you react to that? How do you adjust to that? Like, I don't understand what you're telling me. Do you simplify? Do you
ask questions? Yeah. So if you're in a small enough group and you start getting glazed, and this is even like my business life, like this is anything. If I'm sitting there and I'm saying something, again, body language, if they're not interested, confused, too scared to ask questions, ask them questions to get them opening up. And when they start talking, you're going to realize where the disconnect may be. Because if I'm saying something and they're glazed over, it's my fault, because I didn't communicate in the language that they needed to hear to receive my message. So I'm just going to stop and ask questions. Now, I will tell you, though, quick thing, because you're a teacher, I gave a talk to high school, 600 high school kids last year. Most daunting experience, one of top 10 of my entire life. And I have 3 dogs, like 3 pit bull mixes and a husband. So I didn't have kids. And I sat there in front of 600 9th and 10th graders who looked at me for 40 minutes like this.
That's me every day. Yeah.
All in their matching sweatpants and t-shirts, which is a trend I don't understand, but that's okay. And it's a generational thing. I sound like an old fart saying that. And but what happened was, at the end, I always put a QR code. Always ask for feedback. Even if it stings, you ask for feedback, because
it's a growth
perception, it's reality. And so I put a QR code up and I'm like, kids, I know you can use a cell phone. Please fill this out. It's super basic for feedback. 143 students responded and gave me like 95 out of 100 because they loved my message. They're like, she understands teenagers. She knows what we're going through. So I was surprised that I had the glazed over look. Like, I thought they were annoyed, ... But actually my message did resonate. So if of course I can't ask questions, you in the 3rd row, 600 kids, why are you not looking at me and smiling or nodding? But it's always important to ask questions. Even in business, I was in a meeting last week for the energy company, and it was kind of a challenging meeting. It was clear that we were not all on the same page.
Right.
And I just started asking questions with no agenda of what my answer would be. I literally just sat back and started asking questions to learn. And I'd like to say that the meeting ended and we got somewhere with it in a positive direction. We'll see later this week.
No. And it's funny you say that, because it doesn't matter what situation you're in.
That's right.
When I was in sales, I'm in front of kids. It's funny you mentioned that you change it to a question, because when you're up there and you're talking to people and you can see either they don't get it, they're not connected, or something. Once you change, I find myself, I want to tell them. But when I switch to a question, and granted, a lot of this comes through trial and error. You have no idea. You can have a plan. You go up in front of people and you have a conversation with them, or you're teaching something and you think you understand the level, and all of a sudden you realize you don't. So it becomes a situation of trial and error. Many people get frustrated. I'm sitting there and I think you're the same way. I want to figure out what it is so I can get you back engaged, because my goal here is not to help me, it's to help you.
That's right.
Yeah. And which brings me into the next thing I want to ask you about. And let's tie a little bit of mindset into creating a positive opportunity. So you're the queen of positive mindset. How do you use that to create a positive opportunity from everything that we just talked about?
So a positive opportunity is something externally that happens. But the most important thing to get to that positive opportunity is to have a positive mindset. Positive mindset does not happen overnight. I didn't just wake up and be like, oh, I'm just so happy all the time. No. I mean, I was stressed earlier today. I mean, I woke up this morning, honestly, with a pit in my stomach about something happening with work. But I know the tools to get my brain started to be focusing on the positive. So, for example, you said earlier about something negative, gets in your brain and how do you get out of it, and et cetera. The moment I become aware of a negative thought, and maybe it's not even the thought that I'm aware of, but there's a physical feeling of like a tight chest or a pit in your stomach or whatever.
Right.
I become aware. I tell myself, okay, this is the negative thought I'm thinking. And then I ask myself, what are 3 other things that are also true about that situation? there's a challenging thing happening with work. This is the true story. There's a challenging thing happening with work right now. That is the negative thing. That was the pit in the stomach. What are 3 things that are also true? And so I played that game with myself this morning. So whenever I started feeling that feeling, I'm already in a positive mindset, because I'd rather focus on 3 positive things that I can control the situation than this one negative thing. Because I know that one negative song is going to keep playing in my head, is not going to do me any favors. But in order to get that negative thing pushed aside, I have to have something to fill it with. And I have to stay consistent with those thoughts. So I'm 100% sure, not even 99, 100% sure the positive outcome of this work challenging situation is going to work out. It's going to work out well. I'm 100% sure. Why? Because my mind is right about it and I'm positive about it. I'm already asking the customer all the questions. And so I'm going through it is going to be positive. Now, when I say that, is it going to be positive if we're really just being like, 2 girls drinking martinis over here? I have no idea what the outcome is going to be. Yeah. But I know what I'm shooting for. And I know that I'm on the journey to mentally get my head right to do it. So I'm shooting for a great outcome. We'll see what's going to happen, but all I can control is what I can control.
All right. Let me do a reset real quick. I want to come back because I just listening to you inspired me to ask a question that other people don't. But thank you for listening to my podcast, What Makes You Tick. Megan and I are having an authentic conversation, authentic, purposeful conversation on trust, clarity, and traction within our lives and our businesses. If you have any questions, we would love to hear your comments, and just drop them into the DM and we'll engage with you. If you have any feedback after the show or you see it, I would love to get your feedback on the growth of Megan and my show. Anything. I had some great advice from a good friend the other day, and I've actually turned it into something that might happen and a little bit of a change in what we're doing today. Megan, in our discussion, any takeaways for the audience?
Oh man, any takeaways?
One takeaway. It's all you get. One.
Great. Life is hard, but it doesn't have to be that hard. And there are tools and tricks and to make it less difficult. There's going to be more than one. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And acknowledge the fear that, I'm talking to everyone who's listening, acknowledge the fear that you have in achieving X. That's fine. Acknowledge it. And right when this call is done, right when this podcast is done, take the first smallest step to work towards achieving your goal.
Oh, I love that.
Rip the Band-Aid off and go for it.
So, okay. So that gives me to my thought previously. A lot of people out there have different understandings of what a positive mindset is. So in a definition for the audience, what is a positive mindset?
A positive mindset is choosing to... What is it?
That's a tough question, isn't it?
I've never gotten asked that before. What is a positive mindset? A positive mindset, I'm going to try to answer it without using the word positive or mindset. A positive mindset is the state of the majority of your thoughts that yield results that are true to the life you want to live.
Say that again. Without saying,
I don't know if I
don't
can.
think you can. I know.
Positive mindset is, I don't know what I said, but man, it was brilliant. And I already forgot.
It was.
Basically, a positive mind. Can we rewind this thing?
Yeah, so I was just thinking.
Positive mindset is this basically the state of your brain. When the majority of the state of your brain gets you to where you want to be, that lives you the most fulfilling life.
See, as long as I've been coaching and teaching, I would say that I was more of on the negative mindset because I'm surrounded by negative energy. And I didn't understand what that means. And as I'm sitting here listening to you, I've been preaching positive mindset. Look, I coached at the Woodlands High School. Coach Eastman, who we actually ran into today because the guy I coach with, Barry Wilson, he's our head coach. He and I coached with Coach at the Woodlands. And we did something every year. We had a different thing, but it was really around positive mindset. And we had a guy come in when he was early on who did a great speech, and we did all these different things. And now he's gone on he's still doing the same thing. Yeah. But that's when I first learned about what a true positive mindset. Here I am in my late 30s, early 40s. And I'm just now hearing what a positive mindset is.
Yeah.
And I preach it because you pick these things up.
Yeah.
but I don't know that we actually know how to describe. I don't know that I could. So I put you in a spot. I apologize.
You did. And I loved it. I mean, I've been studying, because, we love science. So I've been studying neuroscience probably for about 6 months. And I didn't know this. I mean, I'm a scientist. I didn't know literally that your brain can change its shape internally with neurons. And I did not know if you change your thoughts. And so I created a 12 video positivity journey, I call it, because the most important thing, just like lifting weights or anything, is consistency. And so I just launched that about a month ago. And it's 12 different, and it's funny, you mentioned like driving. Road rage is one of them. And I may or may not have people in my life that have road rage, but stop complaining. And so, there's all these little tools and tricks you can do to train your brain to think less negatively and think more positively, which sounds great, but really, what does that really mean? What that means is then you will achieve a life of, for me, peace and joy. Those are my 2 words that I want to live: peace and joy. And so think about how you want to live. Are you genuinely happy? Do you react or do you respond? There's all these little questions you can ask yourself.
Oh my gosh. I know that guy who would. Okay. So let me ask you this. Hold on. I just lost my thought because of what you said. A negative movement in your life that challenges a change, resilience, creating a positive life. So is there a negative, or what am I trying to say? In the challenge, can you find the negative? If you find the least, if it's released, can you find it?
Can you please rephrase the question?
Yeah, in a negative moment in your life that challenges change, resiliency, creating a positive life change. Can you use this to find that positive life change?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example. My dad, I'll keep bringing it up. Like any challenging thing that happens, I believe there has got to be, this is just me, there's got to be a learning lesson in it. There has got to be, and it might feel horrible for like a week, a month, years. But what gets me through it is knowing there's going to be a learning lesson here somewhere. Like years from now, I may be able to, use this challenging moment and the learning lessons twofold to help myself in a situation. Right. What I really find is when I go through really negative things, I can help others get through similar things in the future. So absolutely, whenever there's a failure, a negative situation, something that you don't think you can get out of, there's always a learning lesson in there. If you have the mindset that you choose to see it.
No, and agree. Like it's being able to open up and go, look, this happened to me. There's certain things that I can learn. So as far as an advice, if you have advice for somebody that would that you would give who's looking to turn those dreams into reality, even though it turns bad or it turns good, how would they turn the dreams into reality?
How do they turn dreams into reality if it goes good or it goes bad?
Yeah. What have you seen? Like you've been around people, like how do you turn the dreams into reality?
Ask for help.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Acknowledge the fear. There was some business book I read. I got to remember that. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. It was like 10 years ago. And it was one sentence I read. It's a very, very famous book. People probably know it. And it said, if you make $5,000 a year, and I might be paraphrasing, but if you make $5,000 a year or $5 billion a year, everybody has fear. The ones that are successful is that they're acknowledging the fear, pushing it aside, and moving forward anyways. So the end of that what spoke to me was how we all commonly have fear. So when I feel like I'm not alone in something, I then feel more apt to get over the negative feeling, get over the fear, and go after my dreams. Do I have fear? Absolutely. I'm human. But when I become aware of that negative self-talk, I'm like, I hear you, but step to the side. And then I give 3 truths instead.
Yeah, no, the whole understanding where you stand and the negative piece that you have in your life is huge. And I love the fact, like you've got to be able to you've got to be able to admit reality. So if I know that I am in a negative place, I have to be able to admit that and go, look, I'm in a negative place. Yeah. It feels like so many people go, they cover it up, or they don't want somebody to know, or like, just be real, because that real, I don't know about you and your experiences, but I'm sure it's the same way. When you do that, it has this release, like you're not holding on to it, and you're not worried about covering it up, and it opens up to other people.
Yeah. And I'm sure we could talk for a whole other hour on just the victim mentality. A lot of people that are, are kind of stuck in a negative reaction, feel that they're the victim in everything.
Right.
And really, when negative things happen around you, they're rarely happening to you, but people perceive them happening to you. They're just happening. They're all just happening. But if you perceive that they're happening to you, that's not going to help you achieve your dream. So when crappy things happen around me, I step back and I think, okay, is this happening to me, or am I just perceiving it as it's being negative towards me? And 99 times out of 100, someone else is just acting a fool because they're not in a good mood, and it's nothing to do with me.
No. Okay. So as far as we're getting close to the end here, but as far as, I work with young kids, and I think our youth is important. And from the years that I've worked with young kids, I see a lot of them now who are just addicted to earbuds. They're addicted to phones. There's these addictions. I'm worried that they're addicted to AI, to where it might be, it creates them doing work, but never thinking for themselves. But as far as from your standpoint, the way I always end this show is, what advice would you give to the younger generation, especially in trust and clarity?
So as far as the addiction to, let's just say, AI, phones, whatever you want to call it. I mean,
phones are bad.
I don't want to ever sound like, oh man, when I was younger, it was so much better. We were out riding our bikes till after the sun went down, playing in the sandbox. This is all true. I mean, and I loved it. It was a great way to grow up. Life changes, life evolves. So kids these days, it's just a different life. I mean, the grandparents said about, the generation above us. But I will say, AI, we discussed it. AI and technology is awesome. But my belief, we were put on this earth to not be alone. And even though we're super connected, as a society, we're less connected than ever. I mean, we go out to a restaurant. I mean, Kyle and I will go out to a restaurant and we'll see a family, or, I won't even say kids, I'll take kids out of it, but adults on their phones, not actually communicating. They're getting their joy and their dopamine rush from what they're holding in their hand. And so again, as adults, because we can think for ourselves, or if you have children, that's not doing anyone a positive service. It was designed to be addictive. So it's just like smoking. It's designed to be addictive. So become aware of it. And I have to do it myself. I'm like, oh crap, put my phone down. Or my husband will say, Meg, or we'll tell each other like, oh, get off the phone, because we get to that scroll mode. I was going somewhere with that. But AI and technology, especially for kids, I definitely don't think they should be using it in their bedroom at night. I think there's got to be, like, I have a friend of mine who has 2 kids, and it's easy just to say an isolated incident, but she has they're like 12 and 10, and every night they read books. And I think she has no idea, maybe she does, the value that is giving to their children versus everyone else just on their iPad looking at videos and just that quick dopamine rush. And what I find is a lot of kids can't I can talk to anyone. I can get anybody to talk. But I'm finding as the years progress, it's difficult for me to get a child to engage because they're not used to engaging. They're used to just looking and getting their dopamine fix there. And I'm no longer funny. I'm no longer interesting. So I was like, well, and this has happened recently. I've noticed this with some kids I know very well. And I thought, well, this is a challenge, but I'm not their parent, so I'm not going to give my advice. But, yeah.
No, and it's funny because I've gone out, there's a place, we were watching football games. So there's a place I go on the weekend, and last weekend I went to this place, and I'm sitting there by myself at a bar having dinner and enjoying the people around me. And you look around and there's kids that are on their phone with their parents. And I'm like, I mean, and I don't understand. And I know that the kids that I teach, there's a lot of them that they sleep with their phone. So they have their phone on, or they have it next to them. They don't sleep. And I don't understand why. For me, having kids and raised kids, we made sure that our phones were downstairs at 8 o'clock when they were with me, because of that reason. I wanted them. And I think you're right. The biggest thing that I would love to see change is the interaction of people in the way that they interact. And I don't know that the phones are allowing us to do that. So, look, we are done. So please, let's connect. The following show, or follow the show on LinkedIn and YouTube. And now we're also on Spotify. Megan, please share the best way, LinkedIn, or the best way that people can connect with you.
Yeah, LinkedIn. So everyone's on LinkedIn right now. Honestly, probably LinkedIn just be the easiest. That would, yeah, or Megan at meganeddings.com. That's also easy. I mean, yeah, my website or my email address or LinkedIn. Here's the deal. I'm always around. I just started TikTok like 2 weeks ago, but we talked about consistency. I only have 3 videos up. I don't think I'm going down that rabbit hole. That's not my, no, because you got anything you do, you got to be consistent. And so I'm going to be focusing on my workshops instead.
No, love it. I'm not a fan of TikTok. So look, Megan, thank you for being here. Appreciate you telling everybody what makes you tick.
Thank you.
No, look, let's make an impact on our lives and the communities through trust, clarity, and traction. Let's be transitional over transactional. You can find me on LinkedIn to stay connected, or on any of the other YouTube, or on any of the other websites. Find me on Facebook too. And find a deeper connection. Follow up with Megan. You can listen to this again. Megan, it's been amazing. Find my friend and connect with her. Join me next week as we talk about the relationship through the podcasting, but we're going to talk to Jared Crossover, and we'll dive into Special Olympics. So let's take a look at how it makes the impact on our community. Go out, have an impactful week. Enjoy your family. See ya.